What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Make It Kustom. This is our first video in the new digs, so thanks for coming along with us on that journey of the move. That was ridiculous. What we're gonna do today is make a super simple shrinking tool. I feel like it's really important just to talk about how simple metal shaping really is. I know that sounds like an thing to say, but metal shaping is simple. It's form, shrink, and stretch. That is metal shaping. It's very difficult to be really good at knowing where to do those things and all the many techniques there are for shrinking, stretching, and forming metal. That's what makes metal shaping hard. But metal shaping at its most basicness is shrinking, stretching, and forming. So this is a shrinking tool that is super easy to make. This is a 1/2-inch piece of round bar steel, and we're gonna make a tucking fork today. So a tucking fork, basically its entire purpose is to just make a tuck or a wrinkle in a piece of metal so that you can hammer that wrinkle together, shrinking that metal. So if you see me use the power hammer with the thumbnail dies, as I push the metal in, it makes this big wrinkle, and as I pull the metal out, it pushes that wrinkle together. That is the exact same thing that we're doing today in a much simpler way. So let's get into the video. We're gonna make a tucking fork with a piece of 1/2-inch round bar. Let's do it. So what I'm gonna do to make this tucking fork, I'm gonna use this whole piece, it's about 1 foot long. I'm gonna make 2 3-inch long sharpened pieces out of this round bar. So I'm gonna taper it to a point, 3 inches. I'm just gonna do it on the end of each bar before I cut it up. I'm gonna mark 3 inches here. So about 3 inches. About 3 inches. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sharpen this to a point. So I'm just gonna keep grinding this until it's a nice smooth point, both these pieces, and then we're gonna cut it up and make it into our fork. So this is exactly what we were looking for, just nice long tapers like that. It's not critical that these are perfect. It's gotta just make a wrinkle that we're gonna make a mess with a hammer, so it doesn't matter how perfect this is. I'm gonna clean this up, round the tips off a little bit so nothing digs in, and give it a little bit of sand job, cut this, and weld it into the fork. So this is gonna be our T-handle. We're gonna weld the pieces on like that. I might give this handle a little bit of a bend, kind of like a wing nut. Now I'm just gonna grind the tips of this so that it's nice and smooth. Okay, now I'm just gonna give this thing a bit of a bend. Hopefully it's somewhat centered. Grab my BFH. Yeah, it's probably pretty good. Clean it up a little more. Okay, so when I'm welding these two together, I'm not gonna weld them, you know, straight like this. I want them to be spaced with a parallel gap in the center. That's kind of part of the trick of this tool. It can't be like that. It's gotta be like this for it to work right. So I'm gonna space it with about a 1/8 piece of plate here. All right, here's our tucking fork. That is it. Very simple, you can do it too. I see one's a little taller than the other. I'm not too worried about it. It really doesn't matter for how it works. So what it does, like I was saying before, is it creates a wrinkle, right? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna wrinkle all the way around this thing, and you'll see the metal start to collect and come in, and then we'll hammer some of those wrinkles out. See how it makes a wrinkle like that? Another way you can use that is you can throw it in a vise. You can make your wrinkles that way. Right? There we go. Okay, this is 18 gauge steel, so it's a little bit tough to work with one of these, but you can do it. So we're gonna do it. So we're creating these wrinkles so that we can hammer them closed at the end and then hammer them flat, hammer them down, and what it's gonna do is push that metal together and shrink. Actually, what I should do to kind of demonstrate is I'm gonna leave, these are our tucks, right? We're gonna leave these here. This other half, oh, I didn't bolt down the shape-o-matic yet, so I can't show it to you that way.
I could clip in the old shape-o-matic.
Yeah, okay, so Christina's gonna clip in the shape-o-matic when I'm using it, and you're seeing the wrinkles. That is exactly what this is doing. This is a little bit slower way of doing it, obviously, because you're doing it by hand, but that is what the tucking fork does, is it creates these wrinkles that we can now hammer together and shrink. So I'm gonna actually go all the way around this just with a few, and we're gonna hammer them down. I'll show you closing up these wrinkles, and then you'll see that it's got three-dimensional shape. It's got shrink on the edges. So it will be like a slight dome. If you were to try and make something that wasn't just for a demonstration, you would try and be a little more consistent with these. So forgive me for making a bit of a mess here. But you see how it's already it's already shaping it because we're collecting this material. So what we need to do now is hammer these wrinkles out, and you'll see that it closes them up and it creates a shrink. So the idea is that you pinch the end of the tuck first. That sort of locks it in place, and then as you hammer this down, it's being held, okay? Now, when you hammer this down, it's pushing the metal together and physically making that actually thicker. So you can see these are semi, hammered flat, and it's keeping that dome shape. So you could continue and keep doing more of these tucks. Like I say, this is pretty heavy stuff to be doing this with, but as you can see, it can be done. So say we wanted this to be a bowl type shape. You need more shrinking happening on the edges as you do going further in. That's what's called stack shrinking. So if you were to do a tuck that comes all the way in and you wanted it to not just be like a flat shrink and you wanted it to curve more, you'd want to keep shrinking the outside more than the inside pattern. So let's just do a little bit of that. We'll do double as many tucks. Kind of halfway up. Do some more tucks. See, every time we tuck a wrinkle like that, it starts to bring it around further and further.
Looks like a janky bottle cap.
It does look like a janky bottle cap. All right, well that turned out okay. We made a little bit of a convex shape, I should say. I should note to you guys right now that if you're looking on YouTube for other similar videos, you'll see a lot of people use aluminum when trying to demonstrate that fork. And the reason being is that aluminum is way softer and it moves way faster. So I'm gonna show you that too right now so that you can really see the tucks. As I was doing the steel, I realized that it was really difficult to see me closing the tuck and then hammering the shrink. It's working, obviously it's working, but a lot of that material did kind of flatten out. So we weren't getting really big tucks that you could really easily see. But obviously it works, because check that out. That wasn't very many tucks. I did sort of planish it out afterwards, after getting the tucks put in. And this is just all by hand. So you don't need big machinery to make curved shapes. And if I didn't spend very long on this, if I spent a little bit longer with the planishing hammer, like this is a planishing hammer, and a dolly, we could really get this quite smooth. So you don't need machines to do, you know, complex shapes like this. Shrinking and stretching, they are simple. There are simple ways to do it. You don't need big machinery. You just kind of have to learn all the little techniques. I guarantee that all the guys that are professionals, that are, you know, way further along in their metal shaping journey than I am, they all still use hand tools. There's a lot of different times when you need to use a hand tool. So I know that we saw this shrinker, this tucking fork in the vise, and how I was working it that way. But the beautiful thing about something like this is that you could go to, say, a flange, you know, like a 1-inch flange somewhere, and you could go right on the vehicle and you could tuck it. Say you were trying to straighten out damage in a wheel lip that is curved in, and you need to shrink that area because it's stretched out from damage. Well, you could bring this tool right to that lip and add yourself some tucks to hammer out. So very, very handy tool, very, very cheap, very, very easy. It's just a great tool to have in your toolbox. Everybody should have one. So hopefully you guys can make something like this at home and give it a try. That's all for me today for Make It Kustom and the tucking fork. Hope you guys really enjoyed the video. I want to also say that Metal Reborn, there is another supporting video edit that has just been uploaded on Speedline Filmworks YouTube channel. You can go to metalreborn.com to get the link, or you can go to Speedline Filmworks YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, click subscribe, follow those guys for all that kind of content that they're bringing out. It's called The Build. It's kind of one of my favorite ones that they've come out with yet, so go check that out for sure. And don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, notifications, all that jazz, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much for sticking with us through this move, all the comments. I'm sorry I haven't got to them all yet. This weekend, that's my job. I'm gonna sit down and just go through everybody's stuff and try and get caught up. So thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on the next one.